I have watched every single episode of Welcome to Plathville. My name is David and I have 3 advanced degrees. I've been counseling individuals and couples for over 20 years. And I thought what I would do is give you a quick synopsis of Welcome to Plathville and then make some reflections on various aspects of the interrelational dynamics of the family. Just in case you've never heard of the show, Welcome to Plathville is an American television drama that follows the Plath family. Ethan, Micah, Mariah, Lydia, and their parents, Barry and Kim. They live on a large 55-acre farm in Cairo, Georgia, where they have stayed relatively disconnected from society at large. Kids don't have phones, they never had a soda, they rarely wear shoes. Let me say a couple things really quickly. One is I'm fully aware of a few things, just in case you've already tuned me out or made these mean comments. These are real people, not fictional characters. These are real people. I know that. 2, I'm not diagnosing anyone whatsoever at all. No, I'll never make a diagnosis of real people in real situations. 3, I'm not judging them. What I thought would be very helpful is making some reflections, like I said, of some dynamics and relationships. Why do such a thing? It's not to judge them, it's to encourage you, because I have a strong suspicion you might find your own self in some of the dynamics of the family systems. This video is protected under fair use.
I'm on my way to pick up Mariah because tomorrow morning, Mariah and I are flying to San Francisco. And Mariah is so excited. I'm really excited to go back because I love San Francisco, but when I approached Kim about it, she was very hesitant because they don't trust me and they don't trust Mariah. And they know I have different values and different priorities than them. I have felt very negative about Kim because even when Ethan and I were dating, I was criticized for what kind of toothpaste I used or what I ate or what I wore or what I did. I feel like I was constantly critiqued. Literally every time I get in my car to go over there, my stomach is in knots.
Okay, here's a classic example. As soon as someone talks about someone being overly critical about the kind of toothpaste you use and so forth, sometimes people are just a little negative, but it's a very common characteristic of people who are what we call a critical parent, who are very domineering, especially people who are emotionally abusive, people who have a big desire to be controlling. If you ever find yourself in a relationship with a person, you might be right now, where you find that most, if not all of what you do is criticized, you're dealing with a person like that. They probably are to some degree narcissistic, maybe not. That is to say, a narcissist is of a person who has a very high view of themselves and they think that their view is the right way typically. But these are people who have real high problems with things not being in their control. And so if you find yourself leaving the presence of a person feeling worse about yourself, like I'm doing everything wrong all the time, you'll feel crazy. You might be crazy, but you're probably not. Not in that instance. It's because you're around a person who's toxic and dysfunctional. So you need to pay real close attention when you find yourself in the presence of a person where you feel demeaned or condescended all the time. That person is not good for you and they're not healthy. And so what's happening here is Olivia is talking about her mother-in-law, of course, Kim, and Olivia says, I feel in my stomach. Those are natural somatic or body physiological responses in the body of adrenaline. She's feeling anxiety. She's feeling anxiety because her brain's telling her she's in danger. That's what happens when we feel criticized all the time. Our brain sends out alarm signal that we might be hurt, might be in danger. When you're around certain people, do you get nauseous? Does your heart race? Does your chest get tight? Do your shoulders get tight? Do you feel like you start having shallow breathing? You might we call it panting. You hold your breath. These are all signs you're having an anxiety trigger or response. That doesn't mean you're about to die. You can't die from anxiety at all. It's a sign that your brain perceives of some danger. And instead of you think I must be crazy, pay close attention to what's going on in your body. It'll tell you a lot about the situation.
Yeah, she's upstairs.
Hi, Mercy.
There's been tension with Olivia and I for a long time because she thinks I'm too controlling. And there were things, you know, when they were engaged that I know she thinks that I disapproved of, but I really didn't.
All right, I'm gonna go help Mariah pack.
And the thing is, she never asked me. She never talked to me about it. I've just kind of accepted that as par for the course.
Yep, this is another example right off the bat. Now, it's certainly conceivable when you talk to a person, when you listen to people's story, someone tells one side of the story and say that she criticizes everything I do, and you hear from the other person, I don't criticize everything she does. I'm not negative. She just makes this stuff up. That is possible. Sometimes people claim to be the victim. You're pretending to be a victim. That is to say, you're claiming to be in a state that you're really not in. People just don't like me. They're always making fun of me. That's certainly possible. It's certainly possible. You have to learn more data. What I found is, though, you can usually listen to a person for a little bit and decide whether or not they tend to be a victim. If someone seems pretty rational, pretty much in their adult ego state, and they're saying, no, this is really what happened, I'm gonna pay close attention to that. The other thing is I want to pay close attention to Olivia. And when Kim talks, she might say, it might be true that Olivia's mistaken on certain things. She might be mistaken. Maybe she was not, the mother-in-law didn't dislike her as much as possible. What I'm saying is, it's very common when a person is controlling to claim the victim. They're always the one who's right. Instead of the mother-in-law saying, I'm not sure what happened, I'm really bummed about that, I'm gonna try to get the root of this and figure out maybe I said something incorrectly. I'll do what I can to make sure I try to reconcile our close relationship. Instead, what she says is something very different, which is, I don't know, I didn't do anything. She misunderstands. There's something wrong with her. And if she were just to come to me, she won't come talk to me. And I don't know why. I don't know this. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Those are telltale signs that she's a control freak, because she can't be wrong. See, controllers can't be wrong. They are wrong. They just can't be wrong. But it'll make other people feel like they're crazy, but you're not crazy. You're dealing with a very controlling person. Here's another interaction that we'll analyze.
We didn't want you over without us here, and you came over anyway.
Right off the bat, you notice the dad's face there in the background. I mean, this is, so you notice dynamics real quickly when you watch body language and do therapy work, particularly with families. There are therapies where you analyze how families get along. And it might just be caretakers. It doesn't have to be your literal biological mom and dad and so forth. But in family system dynamics, you can watch how people react, and different people have different roles. This is very common. And a lot of behavior that you probably have right now in life, it came from these roles that you felt necessary to take on, to realize you have meaning and purpose and love and that you matter. You take on these roles. You can watch a family dynamics very quickly to see what they're thinking and feeling, what role they're in, and who's the dominant person, who's the alpha in the relationship. In this scene right here, you see Olivia who's sitting there very quietly, and she's taking it very submissively. So are the children. The children have a very difficult time even looking at their mom while they're talking, because they're taking this submissive, defeated role. It's like an alpha dog comes in and barks, barks, barks. Puppies just put their dog. It's a face of defeat, except the husband. The husband's there to make sure he's there to support his wife. And so the faces he's making is to support her, because he's also scared of her. Now listen to what she says and we'll watch the reactions.
Before Ethan and Olivia got married, the family was all on the same page. We were all in the same boat together. And now we've got a line being drawn through the middle of the family. We're not together. And it's just really, really hard. See,
there's another example. Right off that, when someone says we're all together, and now there's a line being drawn, I know and these are tons of examples of a control freak. It means the mother-in-law has a very low tolerance for people disagreeing with her. In healthy family systems, what you're supposed to be able to do is to say, our family gets along. We're on the same page of being the healthiest family we can. We do not agree on all things. We have different persons in our family. And different persons means they have different individual selves. In our family, we praise and validate people having different opinions about different things. We're not on the same page about everything, because that would be codependency or some kind of severe emotional abuse. That's what should be said right now. What she's really saying is, this young girl comes in here and I can't control her. That makes me very anxious. And it's her fault. She's disrupting the family. She's not disrupting the family at all. She's disrupting the mother-in-law. This is a sign of control. If you find yourself going to a person where you are vilified, you show up and you're the person who's on the outside going, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I must be, like, everything's at stake. The whole family's going to pot. The whole vacation's ruined. Everything's ruined because of you. It's not because of you, probably. You might be some psychopath, sociopath, dysfunctional. Probably not. Probably what's happening is the person cannot control you. They're upset with you, and then instead of dealing with their own anxiety, they're blaming you. It's called scapegoating. And so what's happening here is the mother-in-law is scapegoating this daughter-in-law who has to sit there and be berated publicly and embarrassed. And that's to show who's the boss, and that she doesn't like the fact that someone else has a different view and doesn't fit in that system the way she likes it.
It's really hard because we want to resolve things, we want to work on it, we want to restore relationships, but we're just not even sure what that path looks like. One of the things that I wanted to say to you is...
There I would say fantastic if that's true, fantastic. When you say I don't know what it looks like, maybe that's true too. Maybe you're just ignorant about how you deal with conflict. And if that's true, that's also very sad, because you're a grown adult. If you don't have the concept of how to address issues of difficulties or differences, and that's what we're talking about. I had this young daughter-in-law come in and she brought in a bunch of drugs. She was physically, emotionally abusive. She was some vile, horrible person. That's very different. A person comes in and has a little bit different values. It's not a sign that she's toxic, the daughter-in-law. It's a sign that mother has horrible control problems. So she's saying, I don't know what to do with this situation. There's a degree of truth to that, because she's that used to being in control. But it's also a sign that she has very low coping skills and relational skills to other people outside of her controlling pack.
I do want us to work on our relationship. And so you don't have to answer right now, but be thinking about, what does that look like? Like, what do you want? You know, what can we do, you and I?
Maybe like
That's another example when control people. Controlling critical parents always tell you what to do. So instead of being open and saying, first off, you never do this in public ever. This is a lynching on purpose that she shows her dominance because she's so used to it. And everyone sits around her and goes, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. So what she should have done if she really had a difference with this daughter-in-law, this future daughter-in-law, I think they're married by now, is to pull her aside individually and say, man, I don't know what it is. I'm so sorry. It looks like we have relational breakdown. I want to do whatever I can. What can I do to help? What's going on? Have I done something wrong? Instead, what she does is make sure this is public. That's to embarrass. And two, she's telling her what to do. In the meantime, I need you. This is what you need to work on. And so the appropriate response with this daughter-in-law is to look back at her and say, she can nod if she wants to and just say, no, I don't want to do that. Or I'll think about it. You have to demonstrate you're not whipped. You're not defeated. When people come at you as the emotional abusing, narcissistic control freaks that they are, you cannot take it. You cannot demonstrate obeisance. You can't go, okay, whatever you say. In that moment, you have to demonstrate that you are not their slave. You have to. That's what healthy people do. You go, I don't know if I will or not. And just stare at them. That is some kind of indication. You didn't call them a name. You weren't mean to the person. It's at some degree of saying, I have a self and I don't report to you. That's very healthy.
Isaac, coming is a really good way to start working on it. See, if I know you don't trust me, then it's really hard to work on that relationship. By you letting us be with Isaac, it shows that you trust us.
Do you think that there might be some blind spots that you're missing?
On everyone's part. And
Well, we all
anytime you
have
have a problem, everyone has a blind spot.
Yeah.
Dad, what do you mean by blind spot?
It's character type things that may be occurring that you don't see.
Olivia is resentful. Olivia doesn't think she is, but yet she is. It's a character flaw that doesn't build relationships.
She's resentful. It could, maybe. I don't think so. I think, and I'm not just here to pick on the mom or the father, but there's nothing that so far in the dynamics that tells me that she's resentful. It could be that her feelings are hurt. It could be she's angry. There's all kinds of things that are going on that don't have to be that she's resentful, that demonstrate she's being resentful. But beyond that, it's a bad character problem with her that she can't reconcile if she stays resentful. See, again, instead of the person being humble enough to say, I will do what I can to make sure I'm helping this out, it's got to be the other person's problem. I have a strong suspicion, even when I first saw this episode, now I'm convinced of it having seen several seasons, that the father doesn't really believe that he's saying that because he's getting along with the alpha mom, and the mother is absolutely the alpha.
You know, I married your son and I'm in your family now and I'm different and that has to be okay. They don't want us hanging out with the kids until the issues between us four, meaning me and Ethan, Kim and Barry, are resolved. I totally understand that, but when it comes to resolving those issues, a lot of them are theological differences or they're super conservative and we're not. And that's never gonna change. I would love for this relationship to be fixed, but that does not equal me changing as a person. And I can't change who I am to make all this melt away. I'm willing to work on it, but I mean, I can't change the essence of who I am.
Everything that was being said, I just wished so bad that I could leave.
Okay, what Olivia, the daughter-in-law, said is perfect. That was perfect. I have a self. I'm not changing who I am to make sure we can get along. It's actually perfect. That's very good. Now, it's up to the mother-in-law and the father and the whole family to say, then that's not good enough for me. If you're not changing, I don't have a relationship with you. They can, but we do not change who we are so that another person's just happy. That's not how we do it. We're not change based on values. That's not what we do. And then to cut to, of course, the son, who's their actual son, who says, I just want to run. I want to run. And he starts laughing. And I knew right away when I saw this episode, what it means is he has become the placater and he's the clown in System Dynamics. He's the person that cannot deal with the anxiety he feels because mom is so controlling. And later on, that's going to come out, and it will come out in season 2 particularly. But at this stage, his defense mechanism to deal with the anxiety he feels is by laughing, giggling, making jokes, and running away. And that kind of avoidant behavior is very common when we feel anxiety. We feel terrible anxiety, we're either going to run away from it, or we're going to subdue it by drinking alcohol, whatever it is. Those are the two most common ways, and his way is to laugh it off and giggle it off. Have you noticed when you're nervous around people, maybe it's the first time you met a person or you're on your boss or whatnot, notice you giggle a lot? You ever notice maybe in staff meetings you laugh a lot of things that aren't that funny, but you laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh? That's a way to get that nervous energy off. It's not that funny. It's not even that funny to you, what I mean is, but it's a way to get that nervous energy off. And that's a defense mechanism to how to calm down. And so we see this all the time. When people grow up in environments where their parents are domineering in a way, they learn that as a normal, quote unquote, coping strategy, but really it's maladaptive. I mean, it's not healthy. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to laugh. Laughing's good. It's not a good strategy to deal with anxiety by always avoiding it and changing the subject and trying to laugh it off. So you'll find yourself, if you're always making a joke, if some serious moment comes up, maybe there's at a funeral, maybe there's someone serious in a meeting at home and family life, and you're always being the jokester, always, gotta alleviate the situation. I have to make it lighter because it's just too tense in here. Cut that tension with a knife. You just gotta cut it. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have to cut it. You don't have to be a clown. You don't have to make a joke. What you ought to do is take deep breaths and deal with the fact that not everything's happy all the time. You'll make it. You'll make it. You don't have to stuff it. You don't have to deny it. You don't have to laugh about it. It's okay. Okay, here's another great example of boundaries and how to talk to people in difficult situations. Here's a great example.
We're putting the kids to bed early tonight so that Kim and myself, Ethan and Olivia, can just sit down and see if there's just something we can do to move forward and not have this junk, the resentment and the bitterness still hanging out there. Oh, that must be them. All right.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Hi.
Hey, hi guys, come on in.
Thank you. Can we just sit down on the couch?
Yeah, just make yourself at home there on the couch.
Being able to sit and talk through some things in an environment where I think, we have to listen to each other. I think it'll be really good.
One of the most common things in people who have controlling problems and they're so anxious on the inside of not being in control is they cannot simply own that they have to listen. You'll always notice things like we have to listen to together. I have to listen to me. There's always about me. I have got to be heard. I have got to be. That demonstrates how fragile you are. A strong person doesn't need that. They don't have to be heard all the time. They don't. Healthy people can listen without having to be listened to all the time. Healthy people.
Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
To talk about a couple things.
But I am just kind of nervous about the whole thing, though. So, I mean, our family's at stake. I just feel like since that day in the driveway, it's not gotten better, and there's some fear that it's not going to go well.
So our family's at stake. You hear that catastrophic thinking and feeling? Our entire family is at stake on whether or not I can get this girl under my control. That's sad and ridiculous. The whole family's not at stake.
Just wanted to discuss where we are in our relationship because I feel like, it can't go on like this.
Well, this is a start, just being able to sit and talk about. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious there's a need, a big need.
Yeah. When I think about it, I would say in the process of us getting married and all, that brought what we're trying to deal with.
Yeah. I haven't felt included in the family. I haven't felt welcomed or accepted or loved, and so...
Well, and I would be interested to know when it started with you not feeling welcome, because I feel like I tried early on. I mean, just coming over to say hi when you'd pull up or something. But then I felt like you didn't want that.
I mean, it started when we were dating.
Well, I know you've told me, even back to as far as when we weren't even in a relationship, and we'd come to visit you, and she would comment on the toothpaste you were using. You're like, you shouldn't do this or you should do that.
Yeah, I felt controlled from day one. And I felt like if I did not conform and think exactly like you guys or do things like you guys, I wasn't accepted. And then I was told that I was a bad influence on the kids, and the kids were told I was a bad influence on them. And I mean, I know that was said because they've told me that it was said to them, so.
There are several things that I could say to maybe encourage you if you're going to have a conversation that you're not really looking forward to. It's going to be very exciting. The first thing I would encourage you to say, it is very important to think about ahead of time What do I want from this conversation? What do I expect from it? Really, before you have the conversation, before you make the phone call, before you send the email, before the text goes out, what do I expect in return? What do I expect and or what do I need from the person? If you need validation, praise, drop down the knees, ask for forgiveness, you might be sabotaging your success. It probably won't happen. It depends on the scenario. But I'm still gonna ask the question, why do you need that from that person? Sometimes we do. In a close interpersonal relationship, we need someone to say, you need to say you're sorry because this has really, really wounded me. Absolutely. Sometimes that has to happen. But I encourage you, I beg you, I implore you, before you have that conversation with the person, ask the question, what do I need from this situation? You might simply need from the person whom you're discussing this issue for them to hear you say it. Sometimes that's good. Now, why is that good? Because it helps teach you that you stood up for yourself. You stood up for yourself. And so in this kind of scenario, when you go there and say, I've always felt controlled by you from the first time I met, it might be very empowering for her, Olivia, the daughter-in-law, to leave the situation going, well, maybe your mom didn't hear one word I said, maybe she just hates my guts, but I said it. I demonstrated to myself, which does matter. I can trust myself when I feel under threat to stand up for myself. That can be very powerful. Other good things that they're doing well right now, of course, there's a lot of smiling and grinning because they're nervous, but she's sitting up real straight, and that's good. You want to sit up straight, don't cower down. You want your body language to tell your brain that I'm not in danger right now. And these are my thoughts, and that is exactly what I felt, and this is what I thought, I think, and what I feel. I think you're trying to control me, and I feel controlled. I feel like I've never fit into your family, never feel welcome to our family. She can say that. Of course, the question is, and I didn't ask her, I don't know if she says in any episode, I don't remember, if she says, here's what I'm hoping to get from the conversation. I suspect at some level there's a wounded child inside of Olivia that says, I really hope the mother-in-law says, I'm so very sorry. I'll do whatever it takes. I am genuinely sorry, and I want to make this right. That's what normal people want to hear when your feelings are really hurt. Even if you're delusional, you still want to hear that from your delusional guest in your mind. Even delusional, you still want to hear I'm sorry. But at minimum, it seems like she did a fantastic job saying, here's exactly the scenario. And of course, you see the father-in-law who's staring at doing his funny grin all the time because he doesn't know what to do, how to feel. He don't know how to say anything at all because he's such a whipped puppy. He has to watch the mother-in-law to figure out what he can say and what he can do. And so he's sitting back and waiting. So you see this incessant, constant defeatism around everybody that's around her. Those are clear signs that you're dealing with a very controlling person. So I'm very proud of Olivia in this episode and all these seasons to stand up for herself. You can too.
Thank you for watching part 1. If you want to watch part 2, click subscribe, share this video with your friends, let me know more, follow me on TikTok, and have a great day.